The first stage was the first 40 lots that had been built.
Yeah.
Just to explain.
Just go to the end of the table, mate.
This one.
I do get disappointed when I hear people just talk about half-truths, half information. Kirribilli Heights is a special development on the Gold Coast. It's one of...
I don't want you to get all talked out because I think I need you to say this on camera. So the guys are just still setting up, but we'll probably only be a couple of minutes. So I might just get you to say this just once rather than you, because I think that's all great. So yeah.
And yeah, I really do get a bit passive. I am on the body corporate, so...
Is the area around it still shitty? I sort of grew up near there.
Shitty.
And it was always
it's fully developed. And it's in a scenic protection, 42 hectares. So it's in a, sorry, the actual
Put the backlight on the wall
development is in a U shape, and in the middle is a environment. It's under environmental protection.
Well, I'll just put this one here.
Yeah, is it at the end of, is it Alexander Drive you go up?
You do go up Alexander Drive.
Yeah.
If you, so you're thinking about going and taking a photo?
No, I'm just trying to place it exactly in my
You
head.
go up Alexander Drive.
Yeah.
I do have another property down lower on Alexander Drive.
Yeah.
That
Look at
often
that backlight,
is
mate.
interesting because it gets
Sorry?
compared
How's
to
the
that
backlight
for
level?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
comparison
great.
sale
The key,
prices.
is the key up?
You turn left
Key is
at
up.
Armstrong
Yeah.
Way.
This
Right,
one.
keys
Yeah.
good. Keys
And
good.
This way.
you
Yeah,
go
it's all
up
good.
about half a kilometre.
Yeah.
And on the
How's your
right hand
background,
side, it's in a street
Well, I'm not gonna worry about it,
called Ridge.
because you're
Line.
in it.
And that's up on the hill there. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, he's gonna watch
So,
it.
Yeah.
because it's on the
Watch it.
escarpment,
Yeah.
it has
I will need an
environmental
intro shot of Wendy probably
Yeah.
at some point. I don't know what.
location, style.
You got that stuff in the office?
Oh, yeah. 'Cause I'm going to
anchored
need to
into
say
the,
Wendy's a happy investor.
It's escarpment.
Yeah.
So, when people are talking about construction prices and how much they cost,
Oh, yeah.
It does look beautiful. From what I've
They just
seen
don't know
online,
what
it's
it's
amazing.
about.
It's gorgeous.
they don't look at their depreciation.
I'm glad they've
charges.
improved the area around it.
Well, I suppose it
I'll
was
just park
all,
that.
well, that's part of the
Light
issue,
it.
that it was
Yeah.
bushland.
Well, no, I mean, there was a lot of housing commission.
Maybe-
and
Oh, down
back
lower end.
neighbourhoods,
Yeah,
yeah.
Sure,
okay.
sure.
Yeah.
But the houses that are around Armstrong,
Yeah, with that.
they're prestigious because of the view. It's unbelievable view. It's almost the whole length of the Gold Coast that you can see from your balcony. So when people talk about comparables, there aren't 3-bedroom townhouses that are comparable in the area. So it's
Just a
development that all the
Okay,
owners,
solid. Is that?
all the
Well, build
occupiers
back.
who are there
Yeah,
now,
fine.
they just love the place. And stages 2 and 3 are in the process of being
So they are
Too hot, mate.
constructed now.
What's that?
Yeah.
Too hot.
Earthworks.
And what will,
Yeah.
and
Just
put on the
will they
wall.
be sold through
Put on the wall.
TIC as well? Or?
Unlikely,
That's
very
good
much
there.
a high
Right
price.
there.
Right.
Yep.
How much will they go?
How's the level,
Probably
right?
about 2
Good.
million.
Perfect.
All right. Okay. Are they bigger? Or
They're the same size as mine. I have the largest. There were 3 sizes, and that's another issue that when people do comparisons, local real estate agents who don't have anything to do with those properties, they don't understand that there are 3 sizes of townhouses. So the lowest size is about 150 square metres,
knocked it off the chairs.
and mine is over 300 square metres.
How many bedrooms is yours?
I have 3 bedrooms upstairs. I have a separate sort of like flat downstairs, and I have 3 garages.
Yeah.
Whereas smaller ones
Oh,
have a
good
double
go, mate.
garage.
And does a family rent that from you?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What sort of rent does that fetch?
At the moment, rents had been pushed down because of unemployment issues, on the Gold Coast. It started at 600. It had dropped. It's 540 at the moment.
Does the complex have a pool?
Yes.
It's got a couple, doesn't it? Or there's more coming or something?
More coming,
Yeah.
yeah. At the moment in stage 1 there is one infinity pool designed by the architect who designed the pool
You're
architect.
happy? Yep.
Yep, I'm
Won
happy.
All right.
an international award on
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, rolling.
Wendy, you're a happy investor with Kirribilli Heights.
I am, yes.
Obviously. Why is that?
Well, it was an opportunity to purchase a property that was very unique. It's one of a rare group of properties that are on the escarpment, and so the views from the properties themselves extend all along the Gold Coast. It has, surrounding, the development surrounds an area that is prime bushland. It has developmental orders on Kirribilli Heights in terms of what can be done in structure, in colour, in the materials that are used. It has native fauna and flora that are protected. It has, at the moment, stage 1, stages 2 and 3 are to be developed, and their prices are far above what the original prices were at the beginning.
Are you concerned with the pretty drastic drop in values of the units in that complex?
It's unfortunate as a property investor for prices to drop. I have a number of properties, and I have experienced, even with my own home, that with an announcement that an airport was going to be put there, that it dropped 25% overnight of the value. And the history from RP data is that properties fluctuate up and down, but when they're held for the long term, and RP data has indicated in their recent reports that holding properties as an investor instead of as a trader, you will make the money in 9 to 16 years. They've said we pick out properties that have greater potential, and so those numbers are lower. I have properties that have doubled in 2 years, and I've had properties that may take 10 or 12 years. So Kirribilli Heights is unfortunately one of those properties that suffered from factors outside its own circumstance.
Just to distill it down, what are those factors that have severely affected the price?
Well, just as the property was coming up for settlement, you've got issues to do with GFC, you've got issues to do with, so finance was very tight. A number of other purchasers not related to the club were uninformed about how to manage for investment properties. They weren't prepared to drop rent, and so some of those properties stayed vacant. The one next to me stayed vacant for over 12 months. That made it very difficult, obviously, for anyone to hold. They went into bankruptcy, their business went into bankruptcy. We've had other sales where people had accidents at work, in their own business. They had to sell 2 of their properties at mortgagee in possession. We've had some ceased estate sales, and so all of that has led to a drop in price. It's a prestigious area where higher priced buyers would have been, and it was difficult to get those sort of funds in 2008, 2010. However, as time has moved on, the development has recovered. We're now seeing prices rising significantly on the lower sized townhouses that are in the development. Of the properties that I hold, they're not been up for sale, so it's difficult to give a comparison there, but certainly there is great demand for those properties when they come up for sale.
Did any fraud take place when the properties were sold in that complex in 2007, given that there were 2 different prices, one that was stated to the market and one that was given to property club investors? Okay,
there is no fraud. It was fully disclosed in the contract that there would be a price to other buyers, and because our club members had purchased or put in an expression of interest off the plan, and you'll often find in many contracts that people who buy properties or sign a contract early will have a beneficial price, and that was called our purchase price, fully disclosed in the contract.
But fully disclosed to who? Was that fully disclosed to authorities or just to the purchaser?
No, fully disclosed to authorities, because those contracts, the bank asks for those contracts. As a property investor or as a property buyer, when you apply for a bank loan, the bank requires a copy of the contract. So in that contract are all the details of who's buying, the price, the arrangement that there was a price that was beneficial to early buyers, and that was fully disclosed.
So the banks knew that the buyers...
The banks were provided with the contract.
Okay, so the banks knew that
they were provided with the contract. The banks then had their own valuers to do valuations. McGraw and Hogg and Propel were the valuers that our club members, in those that had organised finances through club associated brokers. And we have copies of those valuations. They were at the contract price.
So how is it that, I mean, all things aside, you know, we had a distressed seller, there was a GFC, all sorts of things, but how is it possible that a property can literally go to a third in value just 12 months later?
Well, I'm not sure whether it went to a third in value.
So properties were selling between 1 and 1.2 million, and then just 12 months later a property sold for $350,000. I've got the data if we need it. How is that possible?
Well, I suppose that's a question that you really need to ask the market in general, and it has happened elsewhere on the Gold Coast.
Has it, whereabouts has it happened? Is there any examples you could point me to that are similar to Kirribilli Heights?
Certainly. Kevin has spoken to you about the penthouse that he purchased, and the drops were...
that was a third though. We're talking... the example he gave was his property had dropped by a third.
Sure.
We're talking about properties dropping to a third of their value, so dropping by 2/3, so more than double what Kevin experienced.
So properties that are further down the hill, I can only talk about my properties. I have another one in Alexander Drive in Nerang. It is an older property, not a new one like Kirribilli. But certainly at that period of time, I had market estimates that it was around 350, near 400, and then during the period that I've spoken about, 2008, 2012, valuations or market appraisals coming back, and prices in that development had dropped to around the mid-200s.
Okay, so it lost a third in value though, but not 2/3. But you're saying that it's quite normal in other parts of southeast Queensland that other properties are losing 2/3 of their value.
I don't have all those details, I can only speak about Kirribilli Heights. But when
you're saying
property,
that Kirribilli Heights is quite normal.
What I'm saying is that the circumstances of Kirribilli Heights, many of those properties were sold in distressed sales, and so they don't go through the normal
even if they were sold in distressed sales, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but I'm trying to get to the nub of exactly what's going on here. Even if they were sold in distressed sales, wouldn't they have at least held their value for 12 months, or at least only dropped a little bit, not halved in value from what the purchaser actually paid, or go to a third of the value that the publicly listed sale price was? It just seems an extraordinary amount to drop in 12 months.
It is extraordinary, and one would wonder why such a sale price happened.
Why do you think it happened?
The construction cost is more in our depreciation schedule. The construction cost is more than that sale price. So it simply is a reflection that at the time that those properties went on the market, there was a lack of demand for property generally across southeast Queensland.
And do you think that that has then set up the following years where values have failed to rebound?
Well, values are rebounding.
What examples can you give me of values rebounding?
Certainly, if you look at the latest sale in there, selling for $435.
That's not a very big rebound, though.
Well, it was from what you just told me before.
So 350 to 450, even though they'd already lost about 400 to 500,000 in value, it's not much of a rebound. And how many years later? We're talking 7 years later.
Yeah, the person who had sold the most recent property had purchased that for $350.
Right, so it's the same property that sold in 2008 for $350, or a different one?
No, this is I don't know, you'll have to look up those when the person bought it, but I believe they probably bought it around 2009.
So you're saying because it plunged so much and it's gone up a little bit that things are on the up?
that's what information from RP data is telling us, that South East Queensland and Brisbane areas here are increasing in value in the latest sales. Over the last year, prior to that, Brisbane sales have been flat, Gold Coast have been flat, but their data has indicated that in the last quarter, yes, which is no different to what happens with the property growth clock, where in Sydney, for example, we had a very low price growth in Sydney for 4 or 5 years, and then the last 2 or 3 years, you know, we've had growth of 15, 20%. While Sydney was sitting very flat, we had growth in Brisbane or Western Australia or the Northern Territory. So it's not surprising that prices go up and down, and that property prices are flat, property prices go down. I've experienced that in other developments, other properties that I had. But in the longer term, while you've got so many difficulties that have happened with a wide variety of owners in Kirribilli Heights, they've all come together at a time to cause such a drop in those values. But the question is, how much would it cost to reconstruct those? So that is a very good price, but the cost to reconstruct is well over $2 million in the future, so, stages.
So what would you say to the other investors who still own properties there and are very worried about their financial future at the moment? A lot of them think they're holding onto properties that aren't worth anywhere near what they paid for them. If they sold them now, they'd be saddled with quite a bit of debt.
Certainly they would be, and the club has never said to investors that buy a property and in 2 or 3 years' time you'll be able to flip it on and make a profit, because that's really a trader's perspective. Where the Investors Club has had its focus is on buying property for the longer term, and the longer the term, the less those fluctuations will impact onto the investment that you have. And so in my own experience, when I've owned properties, I've had them sit for 4 or 5 years, such as in Sydney, and then this last year, they've jumped 20, 30%. So if properties can jump 20 or 30%, then I find it not unusual when you're talking about a large market with lots of different buyer and seller expectations, that those things do happen.
Although it has been 7 years now since the Kirribilli Heights development was sold.
That's true, and as I've said, there are a lot of difficulties that have happened on the Gold Coast and with the purchasers who purchased in Kirribilli.
It's not the fault of TIC.
Well, we don't.
They're people that were outside TIC.
No, when the development, and I went myself to have a personal look at the development before purchasing, and I saw that, and I'd even seen it before I knew that the Investors Club would be offering it to our members, it was in a most fantastic location. There is no other location on the Gold Coast that Kirribilli Heights is in. The type of townhouses and the requirements of the scenic protection orders that we have, the court orders for the scenic protection activities that we have in Kirribilli Heights don't apply to other properties in general on the Gold Coast. We need to maintain the lushness of the vegetation. We have extra requirements for reinforcement or retaining walls. We have extra footings into the ground so that they're in the escarpment securely. So in stages 2 and 3, those same sorts of quality developments and quality facilities like the pools, the driveways, the vegetation, the colours, they're all controlled. So a property that is of that style and description, no, I see that the market will recognise its value, particularly when those other stages are finished. But TLC does not have, the Investors Club, Property Club does not have a crystal ball. We cannot say in 2 or 3 years' time this will happen, but we do say in the longer term, this is what we're looking to support you and educate you on how to manage and work with issues and the property environment as it comes across, as it comes along, and be educated about it. Know that those things are going to happen.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add, Wendy?
Well, I just think that Kirribilli Heights is a top quality development in a top location that in the longer term will see all that growth rebound.
Great, thank you. Thanks for all that.
Before you go, we're just going to get a quick cutaway, just two shots. So maybe Wendy, you could just talk first for a little bit.
All right. Cool.
In a two shot, just in a
Yeah.
wide shot. Yeah.
Not this is
just
part of
wide
the
shots.
interview,
Yeah.
so it won't be used. So yeah, what are you up for the rest of the day? Up to for the rest of the day? You're getting off with Kevin to do his.
No.
plan?
I'm off to Western Australia. So as part
okay.
of my role of PMC president, Property Club Millionaire.
That's what I want to get the right. What's the right title for you? Is it?
Well, it's abbreviated to PMC president, but that's
Property Millionaire
Club president.
Yeah. And that's a full-time job.
It's a consultancy that I said I would do, and it does take up a lot of my time, but I am sort of
So
retired.
is it a paid position?
I have my expenses paid, yes.
Right. Okay.
And in that role, it is to support club members
Yeah.
in their education, to know and understand how to manage their property over the longer term, how to be informed about their finances, how to be aware of body corporate issues, how to improve their value, and that's a big thing we would have for our members, to be on the body corporate. to help
What
drive
age were
that.
you able to retire at because of?
We'll need you to talk for a little bit now.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and just listening, Wendy. if
Well,
that's
we'll get you
possible.
answer this question if you
Oh,
don't
whatever,
mind.
yeah.
But yeah, what age was it that you? So obviously you started investing in properties, and now you've got 25 properties, which is quite a lot. But what do you say you retired and you've taken up this this position with the PMC? PMC. Yeah. At what age were you able to retire? Could you retire because of your property investment?
55, yes.
So
And
you
my
retired at
husband took-
55 because of.
Oh, well, 54, I
Yeah.
resigned, from my position.
And you're a former teacher, is that right?
Yeah.
From Perth?
No,
No.
I live in Sydney.
Okay.
I'm going over there to run one of our weekend Property Millionaire Club member training sessions, which we do
Yeah.
around the country.
And you can live on a comfortable income now, obviously, because of your
Yeah.
property investments?
Well, I certainly, I have a superannuation.
Yeah.
However, as we all know, superannuation doesn't give you bells and whistles, and so my husband and I, and he retired at 54 as well.
Yeah.
As a public servant, and he's now passed away, unfortunately.
Right, I'm sorry.
And so having the properties provides us with all the travel and the trips that I go on, as well as I've taken my sister, I've taken my mother, I've taken on many trips, I've taken other family members, which is something that I would never have been able to have done on a public servant salary. So what we saw was the opportunity to access an appreciating asset, and then access some of that equity in the track.
And how many years were you a teacher for?
30.
30 years, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, because my parents were both teachers and probably
Sure.
similar vintage to you, but
Sure.
they had pretty good super as
Yeah.
well. So super's kind of your main thing, and property is
Oh no, my properties are
far more lucrative than.
Oh yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, us travelling on some of my overseas trips, and paying for friends to come with me and enjoy that.
Because of your properties, or because
Yeah.
of the position Kevin's given you through the club?
No, I pay for those trips myself.
Right, okay. Yeah. Lovely. All right, thanks for your time, we do really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Are you talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks very much.
Okay.
Let's do some cuts
What's
and
the
voting.
membership criteria for the